you and I, He placed this innate desire. There's this deep longing inside of you to be in a relationship with someone else. And I'm not talking about the brother-sister kind of relationship, no. I'm talking about an intimate, romantic kind of relationship. There is that desire for you. But the reality is that being in a relationship has become extremely difficult. It's become very hard, and you wonder, why would God create something like that? Something that we so deeply desire when we are not in it. Those of us who are single, you really want to be in a relationship. You really want to be with someone. But then those of us who are in a relationship, you find it so hard to keep it going. It is so difficult. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort. And that has made it almost impossible for us to be in a relationship with another person. It's like a Rubik's Cube. It takes so much effort that you can't even seem to figure it out. And just when you think that you figured it out, you have to start all over again because you find that there's this one piece that is not aligned. And you have to start all over again. And it's the same thing with our relationship, because you get to the place where you begin to feel like there's some things that are happening that are not aligned to what I want or the person that I want to become. And so you have to start all over again. And just like the Rubik's Cube, the ones who have a formula of how to figure it out, it's like, the lucky ones, they keep it to themselves. They keep the formula to themselves. And this has made being in a relationship very difficult. And maybe that's why we have so many failed relationships around us. And the good ones are few and far between. And we give up. We don't want to keep on because it doesn't seem to work. Relationships don't seem to work. This has made dating so extraordinarily complicated. And the reason it doesn't seem to work is because we have bad relationships all around us. From pathetic dating relationships to horrible marriages. And even the good marriages, society is not talking about it. But even the good marriages are few and far between. So for anybody who's dating, couples who are living together and you're listening to me today, and you're thinking about marriage, or you're single, and you're thinking that one day, I hope that I will find someone, that will spend the rest of our lives together. I want to say that this series will be incredibly helpful for you. And I want to say that some of the things that we're going to learn here, if you need to rearrange your schedule, please do so, because some of the stuff will change your life forever. It will change even how you look at relationships. Let me talk to those who are married, because my primary target is even to those who are single or dating. But those who are married, I'm so glad that you are listening to this, because there are some classes that you missed. Let's just be honest. And my hope is that even as you are listening to this, that it will begin to bring out those, because this might just be the thing that saves your marriage. Or this might just be the thing that enriches your marriage to become that kind of relationship that you've always desired. So even as you listen in, I want you to evaluate and tick and see, are we doing these things or are we doing them in the wrong way? Because our prayer and hope for this series is that it will set you up to succeed in having great relationships. So as I introduce this series, we are all coming from different levels. We all come from different spaces. Some of us are jaded. We are wounded. Even just thinking about a relationship, you want to vomit because, the pain that you've gone through in the past just causing you not to want to sit down and listen to this kind of stuff because you're so jaded. So we are coming from different places. Some of us are so happy. You're so joyful in the relationship that you have right now. All you just want is that, let's just go to heaven because paradise has nothing on what I'm going through right now. So what I'm trying to do today, and my hope is that by the end of this message, I want to try and pull us from these different directions and put us in this one space that will allow us to go into specific things in the coming weeks. So as I bring us that, as I bring us closer and even together onto one platform, my hope, and where I'm going to begin with this, is that my hope is that I can be able to speak to you as an individual. Now, if you're listening to me, I'm speaking to you, not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend. I'm not speaking to your fiancé. I'm not speaking to your husband or to your wife. I'm speaking to you today. And the reason why I want to speak to you today is because the most critical part in that relationship that you so desire is you. What you say, what you do, choices that you make will affect the kind of relationship that you will have in the future or that you will end up in. You see, there's something that we all do that we every day. In fact, we do this every day that we take for granted. And the thing that we take for granted big time is this, that your present will be your past in the future. Let me say that again. Your present will be your past someday in the future. And here's the thing that a lot of married people around you were not told, or it wasn't emphasized for them. Everything that you're doing now, decisions that you're making right now, will be in your future somehow. And the past has this annoying way of creeping into your future at the most inopportune times. Just when you don't want it to appear, that's when it appears. You see, most married people thought that once they got married, it was like a new beginning. It was a brand new day, and the past is behind us. We've cut all the ties with the past, and that's what they thought as they were getting into marriage. And unfortunately, for some of them who are even probably sitting here, and they're listening to me, and they will agree with me, it blew up on them because they didn't think that the past will appear in one way or the other. Let me say it in a different way. Let me say it in a different way. We've just gotten into our 9th year of marriage, and there's amazing things that I'm learning even as we're in marriage. But then, over and above that, when you talk to pastors who've done counseling of an extended period, they will tell you some interesting stuff. There's some things that they are learning. And this is what I'm discovering even as we're going along. That couples, especially I'm talking about those who are married, couples don't come for counseling for marriage problems. Let me explain this. What I've discovered is that people with problems get married and then they have a troubled marriage. Are we together? Please follow me with this. Their single people problems went with them to the altar. They got married and now they thought that they have marriage problems and they are not. See, a marriage problem for me is simple. Because a marriage problem is, give me some. Do you employ 2 nannies or 1? Do we live in South B or Kileleshwa? Do we buy a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW? Do we leave the toilet seat up or down? Do we shop at Nakumat or Tuskys? These are marriage problems. You don't run to the pastor to share these problems with the pastor, right? You don't. The thing that I've discovered over time is that people who are married, they come into marriage with things that they've dragged from their past. And this is nasty stuff. This is bitterness, pain, anger. There's these self-esteem issues. There are all these things that they're going through. They've gone through in the past. And they dragged those things into their relationship. And now the problems that they think are marriage problems are as a result of the things that happened in the past. They are a symptom of what happened in the past. This is what they've brought in. So what you're doing now, those who are dating, those who are single, and even those who are married, it's never too late. It's never too late for anything. What you're doing now will affect you now and in the future. Every decision that you're making right now. And I want you to put this as a footnote in this entire series. Please, if you need to write it down, write it down. What I do today matters because my present shall be my past in the future. Don't miss that. And the reason why that is such a big deal, the reason for you to realize why your present will be your past in the future someday is because the person you are today greatly influences the relationships you will have in the future. Future here means any minute from now, going forward. And we take this for granted in so many ways. We take this for granted, this truth, it's a fact. And we take it for granted in so many ways. And one of the ways that we take it for granted big time is by believing a myth. And the interesting thing is that we've talked about this stuff before. But I've discovered whenever I'm having conversations about relationships, it's some things that you think are obvious are not so obvious. Right? Common sense is not that common, right? And we take this thing for granted. And the myth that we keep on buying all the time, especially those who are getting into a relationship, or even those who are married, is the myth of the right one. We've talked about this stuff before. But don't even get caught up in the phrase, the right one. What I want you to understand is what I'm trying to say with this. Because the myth that is the right one, it says that if I meet the right person, everything else will be all right. This is what it says. Everything will be all right. We make it about the other person and not me. What you didn't know about is this. While you are looking for the right person, so let's say you're person A. You're looking for the right person, and you're thinking, when the right person comes, everything will be all right. Your right person, the other person, when they show up, they are thinking the same thing. Because they're saying that when the right person shows up, everything else will be all right. So now you have two people, right? And they're thinking that when the right person shows up, then everything else will be all right. And the person is going, I've met the right person, everything is going to be all right. And here's what happens. Do you know what happens? When two people who are looking for the right people know that they've met the right people, there's chemistry. There's chemistry. And they're like, oh, I'm so in love, and we just talk for hours and hours. There's this chemistry, I can't get my mind off of him, or she can't get my mind off of me. We just talk and talk, we walk and walk for many hours. There's this amazing chemistry that you can even touch it. He can't get my mind, his mind off of me, and other things, off of me. And we continue with this, the ooh, the ah, and we are so in love. There's this chemistry that you could almost touch it. So you go ahead and get together, and we all know what happens after that. We all know what happens after that, because we say, don't buy a car without test driving it, right? Who buys a shoe without trying it on? I mean, who does that? So what happens is that they believe in this, they jump into this, and the physical thing gets going, and we jump into this relationship, and I mean, the sex is going, the physical, the intimacy is going, and everything is working out well, and you're convinced that this is the right person, I've met the right person, and because I've met the right person, everything is going to be all... Marriage people want to pay me money for this. And the other person is thinking the same thing. Okay? The other person is thinking the same thing. Everything is going to be all right. And you believe this is a match made in heaven. We are so compatible. You're my soulmate. Can you tell my sarcasm? Please don't leave. I know, please don't leave. Just listen till the end. I know I'm sarcastic about this. And you're up because you're absolutely convinced of that. And so you decide to move the relationship to the next level. What do? The problem, before even you move to the next level, is that all you had was chemistry. Let me explain this. You didn't know very much about relationship. All you had was chemistry, because you thought that if I meet the right person, I don't have to be good at relationship. He will be good at relationship because that is why he's the right. And the other person is thinking the same thing. I don't have to be good at relationship because she will be good at relationship because that's why she is there. I don't have to be patient because there is nothing that she will ever do to drive me up 10 walls that will require me to be patient. Right? Is that what we think? But then you start having problems. And guess what problems you're having? You're not having chemistry problems. You're having relationship. Is someone following me? Because you are in a relationship, hello? And you didn't even do anything to prepare for the relationship. And guess what starts to suffer? The chemistry. And what was once so passionate, what was so sexual and so intimate, suddenly that part of the relationship begins to die. And all of a sudden, the guy is thinking, we need to fix this. We need to fix it because that's how guys think. They think that we need to fix it. So what do? We have more sex. And the guy and the lady on the other side is saying, no, that's not how it works. We need to fix it first, and then possibly, just possibly, we might have more sex. That's what they think. And now there's this tension between them and in the relationship, they can't even have, just even a wonderful time enjoying each other's presence. And then, because they thought that if I meet the right person, everything is going to be all right. So then somebody, I won't say who, comes up with this brilliant idea. For us to resolve the issues that we are facing right now in the relationship, we need to define the relationship. We need to commit. We need to commit to this mess that we are calling a relationship. Because that is what will solve the relationship. In fact, we need to take it to the next level. Let's get married and spend the entire lifetime living in this mess. In fact, as we are waiting for that, I have a brilliant idea. I know what is going to bring us closer together. Let's have a baby. Let's bring another life in a dysfunctional relationship. Then you decide, we're going to have a baby. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix our relationship. And some of us are sitting there and they're thinking, who would be so stupid to do something like that? Don't point fingers. This is a global problem. So now we've got people, and I know for some people this is making you uncomfortable because you know that I'm talking about you. So now we've got people that didn't really know much about relationship, and all they are doing is fighting about who is supposed to do what and when and where, and we're no longer looking as cute as we used to be. We have baby food all over our dresses and our pants. I'm not even sure how we smell nowadays. We have I don't know whether it's poop or pee. Poop fume or something like that, Anyway, and they're in this space. We can't even have sex anymore without the baby interfering. And then one day she's at work, and she looks up and she realizes, she notices this guy who's been throwing glances at her, and he finally gains the courage to walk up to her and ask her out, and he's walking up to her and he's giving her that smile, that smile for saying, hey, beautiful, can I take you out for coffee or ice cream? And that smile that just makes her knees weak. And she's thinking to herself, take out. The last thing I had taken out was trash. So, I mean, take out? Because this has become her life. Her life has just become this. Take out trash, take out the baby's diapers and all these things. And that's all that she's thinking. She's thinking, take out? And she pays attention. She pays attention to this guy. And she realizes, that light bulb moment, he's the right one. I know what is the problem with my relationship. I know the problem with the commitment that I made. I know the problem with my marriage right now is that I got married to the wrong person. Right? And off they go. Do you remember that thing I said about, how now you can't buy a car without test driving it. You can't try shoes. You can't buy shoes without trying them on. Now you have 2 used cars, 2 used pairs of shoes, and they don't know what to do with one another. And they have no idea, and they wonder what happened. But it doesn't have to be that way. That does not have to be your future, because there's something different and there's something better for you. And I'm glad that you're here today, because I'm telling you, if you date with the mindset of, if I find the right person, the right things will happen, everything will be all right, you have bought into the fairy tale stuff. You have bought into those things that you watch in movies. That is the lie that we are told over and over again. It just doesn't work that way. That's not how relationships come to be. Instead of finding the right person, the real issue here, and the question that I'm asking you today is, are you becoming the right person? That's the question I'm asking you today. This is the whole deal right here. This is what nobody told most married people, and that's why they're ending up in affairs, in infidelity, because they're trying to figure out, did I marry the wrong person, and now I'm trying to look out for the right person. This is why they date the way they did. This is why they do the things the way they do. This is why they wake up on the other side of a long-term relationship, and they wonder whatever happened to the passion, whatever happened to the fuel, whatever happened to the romance. It is because they never spent enough time preparing themselves to become the one. They were waiting for this guy, they were waiting for this girl to come from behind the curtains and sweep them off their feet. And sweep them off their feet they did, but they fell flat on their face. We spend so much time imagining. We spend so much time fascinating and dreaming and looking out for this person, who is, what are those things that we say? Who is God-fearing, hallelujah. Who is working, hard-working. He's good-looking. They are sexy, like, whoa. They are mature. They are a leader. They know how to lead people. They know how to speak to women. And they know how to speak to men. And we go on, and we talk about the kind of person that we would like to spend the rest of our lives with. The problem is, my friend, and I really hope that you can wake up and smell the coffee. The problem is that person who is perfect, your list, that list that you have, that person, that perfect person, is not looking for someone like you. Because, and here's the reason, because that person, That person who is becoming those things, God-fearing, hardworking, that person who's becoming a leader, that person who's becoming kind and loving, is looking for someone else who's becoming those things. But guess what you're doing? You're looking out of the window waiting for the day that this person is going to show up. I said it. My question to you is this: are you becoming the right person? Are you who the person you're looking for is looking for? Let me give you a minute to just think. Because here's the thing, you see, the right person myth is about you looking outward and waiting for the day this guy or this girl will show up. But what I'm asking you to do today is look at yourself and ask yourself the question, am I becoming the right person? Are you being intentional? Are you trying to become the right person? Or are you just praying and hoping, spending endless days fasting, and waiting for the day the Lord will providentially give you this man in knight and shining armor, hallelujah, who will just show up? It doesn't work that way. That is a bunch of... Am I allowed to say crap in church? Okay, I sorry if I said it and I'm not supposed to say it. When you look into the Bible, here's the thing that I'm going to say. You find very little in helping you find the right person. I mean, you can read from Genesis to Revelation. You find very little in helping you find the right person. But when you begin to ask the question of how can I become the right person, all of a sudden God's word just comes alive for you. And remember, God created you for relationship. You were created for relationship. You were designed for this. And I don't want you to give up on that dream because this is who you are. So don't give up on that dream of desiring a fruitful relationship. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying keep on. But do it the right way. And if you want to prepare yourself and get ready for that future relationship, there's a way to do it. We all have this list of perfect people. And I want to give you a list from the Bible. A list that we were given by the Apostle Paul of the kind of person that you need to become. That even as you are entering into this relationship, the love relationship, this intimate and romantic relationship, you're going to be given a list from the Bible. And my hope is that you can begin to memorize this list so that you can know the kind of person that you are becoming. And here is what the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And we know this as the famous chapter, the love chapter. It's called the love chapter. And when you read 1 Corinthians 13, and I'll tell you, I'm just going to pick a few things, here, a few things that I want you to go out and in your life groups and even in your conversation with your partners or even with your friends, just talk about this chapter and see what you are learning from that. So I'm going to mention a few passages and then you'll read the rest in your life group this coming week. 1 Corinthians from chapter 13 from verse 4. This is what it says. Love is patient. Here's what patience means, and I'm going to interject this with what it means for you in a relationship and the kind of person that you need to become. Here's what patience means. Love never pressures the other person, ever. Okay? How many of us are guilty? Don't put up your hands. Love creates as much space, as much time, as much margin as the other person needs. That's what love does. Love is patient. If you're in a relationship and all you're doing is push the other person to do or to say things your way, I don't know what that is because it's not love. If you're trying to get them to do things your way, that is not love. And listen, patience doesn't suddenly appear as a personal virtue when you say, I do. When you're standing there and you're putting your ring and it's like, in the name of the Father, the Son, or the Holy Spirit. And all of a sudden now you're patient. So let's wait. No. You work at it. This is developed over time. Every single date, every single relationship. And you need to get better at this. What you do now matters. Doesn't begin to make sense now. Your present will be your past in the future. Are you becoming the right person? He goes on to say, love is patient, love is kind. Okay? Love is kind. Many people assume that I don't need to become kind. Or the other word I think that they use for kind is considerate. Because when I meet the right person, he or she is going to be so right that I will not require kindness. That's a married person. That she is going to be so perfect, or maybe it's someone who's been in a relationship for a long time. She's going to be so perfect, there's not going to be anything to consider. Because she's the right person. It's just going to come natural. And then you get married. and you are not very good at this. And neither is your partner, because your partner was thinking the same thing. I am telling you, you need to become kind. It is becoming that prepares you for great relationship. I don't have to expound on these things because you know what you need to start doing. Are you becoming the right person? And then he goes on, he says it does not envy. Now, envy is when I don't feel so good about myself, so I will make sure that I don't make you feel good about yourself. Does that make sense? Are you understanding that? And I'm going to drag you down with me, and people get married, and suddenly he's a little bit threatened out of the success that she's having in her career, or she's feeling a little bit intimidated by just how people are the society is celebrating him, and she's beginning to feel, you know what, I can't let him, I have to drag him down. If I'm not feeling good about myself, I can't allow him to feel good about himself. That is what envy is. And somehow we didn't train ourselves this. We didn't know that we had this problem, because the thought is that if we met the right person, envy will just magically disappear. I won't be envious again because I love this person. They're the right person. And it's not about competition. That's not what I'm saying. Some of you are always, and here's the thing, and you'll notice this, and some of you will even notice this with your brothers and your sisters. It is not always about telling the better story. Okay? It's not about you feeling like you have to give your contribution towards something. That's not it. Don't feel like you always have to contribute. Or your partner has said this and you feel like, I want to say it in I think there's a better way of saying that. The way, even, have you ever sat with couples and sometimes, and I'm not even pointing fingers, you sat with couples and sometimes they'll sit down and they're giving you this animated story about what happened, and then the other partner jumps in and like, no, that's not how it happened, this is how it, let me tell you, let me add humor to this. Learn how, listen to your conversations and learn how to celebrate the other person. These are things that I'm learning. I'm not saying these things like I'm perfect in these things. I've done this so many times with my wife, where I'm like, she's sharing and I'm like, let me just, wait. I've done that. But you need to learn how to listen. Learn how to celebrate the other person. Learn how to allow the glory to sit on them. Let them receive the glory. Let them receive the reward of what is happening at that point. Are you becoming the right person? It doesn't come naturally, but you need to work at it. Fourth thing, I need to continue. It does not boast. It is not proud. I don't even have to expound on this. Let me say this. Some of you, if at the end of this service, you are to walk out there and you are to meet the person who probably will be the right person for you, they will not even be attracted to you just because of how proud you are. Let me leave that there. Goes on to say, it does not dishonor others. Okay? This is verse 5. It doesn't dishonor others. This means that you never disrespect someone else. You don't do anything or say anything that will dishonor the other person. Okay? What you're saying is that I'm going to learn how to honor a man. I'm going to learn how to honor a woman. That the day that I fall in love, I'm going to be the one that honors them the most. That it will be evident for them. They will know that I'm the one who honors them the most. Can your partner even say that about you? That you honor them? Then verse 5, it says it continues, it's not self-seeking. It's not selfish. Okay? It's not selfish. When you're thinking about yourself, when you're about to make a decision and you're thinking about yourself, think about the other person also. In fact, think about them before you even think about yourself. I need to finish this. In fact, it continues and it says this. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. How many times do you have a conversation and you're like, now, do you remember 2016 July? Huh? In fact, before even we go to 2016 July, do you remember what happens in January 2016? And we keep a record of wrongs. Some of us have files. We even coded them. We have color-coded them. You're like, Chomoa, this file, it's like, you want us to talk? Oh, great, let me bring my box file, and you come with this thing. It keeps no record of wrongs. Let me pause this there because I really want you to go and think about this myself. There's no amount of exposition that I can do in this place to help you understand, because you need to be able to internalize this thing by yourself and even by your wife. Because here's the thing, do any of this come naturally? Do they come naturally? No, I don't think so. Do you know what comes naturally in a relationship? Can I tell you that? Passion and chemistry. It comes naturally. Hello, is anybody listening? I can't wait to get alone with you so that you can give me some of that. That's chemistry, that kind of passion. It happens naturally. And that's just nature. And you know what? It's awesome. It comes naturally. Let me tell you something. And please, don't miss this. You can feel that way to about thousands of people. You can feel passion. You can feel chemistry to thousands of people. You feel that way to people that you meet in the bar. You feel that way to people that you meet at a wedding. Maybe you're even feeling that way to someone that you've seen across the room right now. There's passion that is just exuding, and you're feeling, there's chemistry. You've looked at one another and you're like, there's chemistry. There's chemistry. I'm feeling you, you're feeling me, And then you're going to go and tell your boys, hey, there's this chick in Mavuno downtown. She checked me out. There's chemistry. You feel that to over 1,000 people, to many people. You can feel that way to even people who don't even speak your language. Right? And to allow your relationship to be driven by something that you can feel for 1,000 different people. Something that comes naturally. To think somehow that when I meet the right person, all of this stuff is just going to magically appear. Come on. That is fairy tale stuff. For you to base your relationship on something that you can feel over every person in this building, all you just need to be is to be put in one room. That is fairy tale stuff. That's the fairy tale stuff that drives people into relationships and make you begin to believe that it doesn't work. You watch. Oh, wait. I was wondering. Hey, God, wait for me to finish this. Thanks, Etta. It's like, it has happened. I have to wrap this up. What the Apostle Paul says, and in fact, I'm going to pick this up from here next week. He says this in verse 11, 1 Corinthians. When you jump a few verses down that chapter 13, go and read chapter 13, the entire of chapter 13. He says this, and I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to use this also as a reference even as we go along. He says, when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. That's pretty obvious. We understand, when you're a child, you talk like a child, you reason like a child, you think like a child. But then he goes on to say, when I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. We've watched fairy tale movies, right? Right? What happens? How do those movies end? And all those movies, how they end. When the prince finally meets the princess, they overcome all these odds, and then, they're riding into the sunset on these white horses. And what do the movies say? And they lived. Because listen, guys, and lean in on this one. When it comes to children's stories, and keep that verse up for me. When it comes to children's stories, if you can just get these two people together, the rest will take care of itself. That's children's stuff. If you can just get these two people together, if they can overcome all the odds and get together, the rest will take care of itself. Let me explain it. Some of you are dating and some of you are approaching relationships thinking like a child, reasoning like a child, and talking like a child. It is time for you, and I'm saying this not only because I need to preach this word, but because also I care for some of us who are ending up in bad relationships. It is time for you to put the ways of childhood behind you and decide, you know what? That's right. It's not about magically finding the right person, because that's Hollywood stuff. That is Disney stuff. That is stuff that is good for TV and for movies. That is not the reality. So I'm going to put the ways of childhood behind me, and I'm going to approach my relationships thinking that if what God has desired for me, not thinking if I magically, find the right person, all the magic things will happen. And from this point forward, I'm going to do everything in my power to become the person that the person I'm looking for is looking for. And I'm telling you, that's the best chance that you have of being in a great relationship. Whether you're married right now, my hope is that you're listening to me and you know and you're asking yourself that question, who am I becoming? I know this is what you're looking for in other people, and I want you to memorize 1 Corinthians 13 and ask God to make you this kind of person. This week, why don't you go and have conversations? For those who are dating or those who are single, why don't you ask someone that you trust to give you some honest feedback? Who are you based on 1 Corinthians 13? And this is how you'll probably ask the question, Kevin is kind. Evaluate that. Get someone who will not tell you what you want to hear, but something that is reality. Is Kevin patient? Is Kevin kind? How do I score on that? That way, then you begin to know, and you know how to grow and become the right person. For those who are married, do it with your spouses. This is the best preparation. Those who are single, those who are dating, this is the best preparation you can make to have successful relationships. And do you know what is going to happen after this? What is going to happen is that not only are you going to become more of this person who is the right person, someone who is loving, someone who is kind. The thing that is going to happen is that you're going to begin to be repulsed by people who are not. And you don't have to spend eternity. You don't have to live with someone to know that they will never treat you right. Because you already know what love is. You already know what kindness is. And the minute you see someone like this, you will know that you're not the right person for me. Because you have become the right person. But you know what? God will use this to transform you. When you begin to focus on the kind of person you're becoming, God will use that to transform you. And He will also use that to guard your heart. Some of us have gone through myriads of heartaches. But it's because of the choices that we made. And my hope is that this will help you guard your heart. Are you the person who you're looking for is looking for? And are you willing to allow God to help you become that over the next course of your life? Imagine with me that you're sitting there and you're listening to me. And you're saying, you know what, I'm going to become that right person. I'm going to become kind. I'm going to become loving. I'm going to become considerate. I'm going to seek the detriment of this person, but I'm going to love them unconditionally. And imagine with me, there's someone else across the room who's sitting there and they're listening to me and they're saying, I'm going to become those exact same things. What a beautiful relationship that will be when you realize what God desires of you. My question is, are you becoming the right person?